Where action research is similar to something like appreciative inquiry, is they are both cyclical processes of reflection. So in both these cases, what you're doing is you're collecting data in a relatively informal way. So it might be your staff members presenting their reports on a monthly basis. Then what you want to do is use that data to begin a discussion about whether you're succeeding and where you go from there. So in both of those cases, you're collecting informal data, you're reflecting on their data, and in both cases they're cyclical. In other words, you use this data to talk about things you plan, you do, and you come back again, and then you move up again, and it's this kind of cycle that you go through over the 5 years, or the year, however long the project is. But it's a reflective cycle, both of them. Where they are different is appreciative inquiry starts by focusing on strengths and observations. Action research starts by saying engage in the real situation. And if that real situation is one of problems and disruption and dislocation, you have to use it. That's the data you get. That's the real world problem. You have to engage with it. And then what you have to do is start problem posing. And what they mean by that is don't just, when people say, oh, this community is completely fatalistic. Don't just say, okay, so the problem is that people are completely fatalistic. What do we do about it? What action research says is ask the question, why are they fatalistic? What is it about underlying conditions that creates this attitude? Or if people aren't washing hands, the problem isn't that people aren't washing hands. They say, pose the problem. Why are people not washing hands? What you're doing is you're constantly reinterpreting or posing that question about the why question. And then what you do is you say, okay, we think it might be this, it might be X. So what you're doing is you're defining the issue. And then what you do is you go out and you plan an action and you then act on the world. So you say, well, let's try this. Let's see if we do X, will that actually increase hand washing? Or will it reduce the sense of fatalism? And then you observe very carefully what's happening. And people record what's happening. And it comes back into a meeting. You say, okay, when we tried this, this is what's happening. And you go through the same process again. And the idea really is that it's a constant cycle. But as you'll notice, that cycle becomes more and more refined. So the idea is that you get a better sense constantly of what the nature of the problem is that you're trying to solve. So it's about problems, not solutions, and it's about redefining that problem, getting deep, getting to the roots of the problem, rather than just taking what's at the surface. And constantly you are saying, right, if we think it's that, let's go out and do something. Don't think too much. You have a quick discussion, go out and you try things. Plan collectively, act collectively, you reflect, but you re-engage with the world and see what happens. Again, you reflect on that. So that's really, it goes through endless numbers of cycles of this kind. Now, it can be technical or it can be critical. Action research, in a straightforward way, is used in just about all big corporations. That's a very technical one. What they just want to do is become more and more efficient. So what they do is they look at those, and they want to really try and make sure that they define the problem correctly, they act on it. But you also find that activist groups will use the same sort of thing to conscientize communities. What they will often do is say, sure, there's a shortage of food here. That's a problem. But that's not really the problem, is it? Let's have a look at why we have a shortage of food. And they'll get the community to think about why there's a shortage of food. And often that then gets at the root causes of poverty, which is often a far more radical solution. And then it says, okay, now, given that the reason for the shortage of food here is whatever the solution is, how do we act on that? They might say, well, we'll lobby the local council, or we'll march on this particular organization, or we'll take some sort of action to make the change. So it can be either just a technical kind of view of action research, same kind of cycle, or when you pose those problems, pose them socio-politically, and you go much deeper, and in that way you empower communities. That's the way activism. So those are the two, appreciative inquiry and action research.